And welcome back to the Main Event Broadcasting Network. I'm Athletic Communications student intern Billy Mangum, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 2015 baseball season with head coach Jim Peeples. Thanks for joining us today. First, we're going to start off with, your pick third in the conference. Ferrum and Covenant picked ahead of you guys. And what do you think about your conference schedule and getting picked third and all of that this season?
Really, to me, a preseason poll is just that, and most of the preseason polls are based on your performance a year ago. I think, Covenant and Ferrum picked where they were picked is really based on how they finished a year ago, and that they both have, quality returners returning to their program. So it's no big deal one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And you talk about the season a year ago. You got 8 out of your 9 returning. Josh Bailey, the only one in left field. You got all those returning players. So talk a little bit about the senior leadership. You got 10 seniors, 8 juniors on the roster this year. So talk a little bit about how that played in the fall and in your scrimmage this past week, and how you look for that to impact the season.
We've transitioned from a team that a lot of people considered young to now a team that has played an awful lot of baseball together. Mm-hmm. And the 10 seniors to start with have done a great job of leading by example in every single way. During our fall practice opportunities, in the weight room, during conditioning, and most importantly in the classroom, and just doing the right things day in and day out. I've been very pleased with that group. So, if everybody will follow their lead, I think we'll be in good shape.
Yes, sir. I completely agree. And you talk about, you got Alan Tokars, the 1.65 ERA, first team all-conference, 5-1, 3 saves, and 33 strikeouts, a big returner right there. Talk a little bit about how he's kind of been a leader for the underclassmen, and, you kind of have some room to fill in that relief pitching area.
Well, losing Jacob Brewster, closing, to graduation is a pretty significant loss. Jake converted every save but one during his 2 years here. But, we have some guys who've got a lot of innings under their belt, in that role, namely Allen and Josh Thomas. And then Matt Stevens really pitched well in short relief for us a year ago. Allen's significance is what he's been and what guys before him have been that have kind of been our best guy. Allen is our best guy every day in practice about how he goes about his business, how he prepares, how he conducts himself. And he's a great lead by example guy for the young kids in our program. When your best guy is your best guy by the example that he sets, it means an awful lot. So, and I think he takes that responsibility very seriously and wants to be the example setter. So, no, Alan's a tremendous young man, and he's going to have a great year. I have all the confidence in the world in that.
Yes, sir. I completely agree. So, switching gears from the pitching to the offensive side, you got Evan Gresham and Will Skidmore, who were the top hitters of last year. Evan Gresham had a .336 average, Skidmore .328, and Gresham led the team in hits. So talk a little bit about those two coming back as juniors this season and a little bit of the role that they play this year.
Well, I think starting 2 years ago, Evan, Will, and Brett Davidson, we were able to play those guys significantly as freshmen, really trying to build for the future. And, what I feel like looking at this team's offense, I think it will be one of the most balanced attacks that we've ever had. I feel like in any combination, including the guys that are backups, we're going to be able to put 9 good hitters in the lineup every day, and 9 guys that bring different skill sets to the table that will allow us to be a really quality offense. So I'm expecting big things from us as a team offensively. I really feel like we should be able to to score runs in a lot of different ways this year.
Yeah, I completely agree. Having that big offense is going to be really important, but only returning Chris Gershel and Max Oberkoffler, the ones that had significant amount of starts last season. So talk a little bit about how you look to kind of fill that role, possibly with some underclassmen or, some people that have been in the program and kind of worked their way up, and a little bit of kind of how Gershel's kind of led that flock.
Well, Chris, to start with, has probably been, during his career, especially the last 2 years, as consistent a starting pitcher as I think we've ever had. Chris's ability to go out and eat up innings and give us opportunities to win ball games every time he takes his mound is a special quality. And Chris is going to go out on Friday nights for us, and your Friday night guy has to be the guy that keeps your bullpen intact. And Chris has shown that throughout his career, he has the ability to pitch you deep into ball games. Max, during his time so far, has pitched in an awful lot of big ball games. He's been our midweek starter, and he has faced some nationally ranked opponents during that time. So pitching on the weekends is not going to be that big a deal to Max. He's already pitched against some of the best teams that Division III baseball has to offer. Mm-hmm. I think it's actually a luxury for us that the people in our conference haven't had a chance to see Max, mm-hmm. don't know anything about Max. But Max is going to go on Sundays, and that third starter, a lot of series come down to what happens on Sunday, and I wouldn't want to have another guy pitching on Sunday other than Max. He's just a dependable, reliable guy. We're going to have a couple of these young freshmen step up and pitch well in starting roles. We're going to march Seth George out there on Saturday as our number 2 starter, and right now as we kind of come out of the preseason, Drew Coker will probably be our midweek guy. And I really think that the strength of our pitching staff may be in the back end with 7 guys that I think can pitch quality innings and get anybody out that's on our schedule. So I feel good about our pitching staff. You always need a young guy or 2 to step up and give you quality innings. I think Seth and Drew are going to be more than capable in starting roles of getting the ball to the back end guys. And we've got some young guys on the back end that people haven't seen that I think really have quality stuff. So I'm excited about our pitching.
That's good. Kind of talking on those 2 players taking on the kind of role that you saw Gresham, Skidmore, and Brett kind of taking on, that we're going to develop you, but they're good enough to play now. But also in the future, you're kind of setting things up. So starting off, just in a few days, you guys head to Maryville, and you played 12 straight conference games, not really a break, no midweek games kind of thing. So talk a little bit about how you're preparing your team for that long stretch of conference play.
Honestly, Billy, we haven't even talked about it. All we're trying to do is dominate the day that we're in. And we really even haven't talked about Maryville at all. They're the first up on the schedule. Today's Tuesday, and we want to win the day on Tuesday, and that's really all we've tried to do. So we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We don't want to let an opportunity for improvement to skip us, and I think the guys have done a great job really being in the day and in the moment and locking into what we have to do that day to improve, and that's really how we're going to approach it. I couldn't even tell you who we play after we play Maryville, because I haven't looked that far down the schedule, so that's really not important. We know we got to play 30 conference games, and we know we need to win the regular season to have the automatic bid. So we know what the task is. We're just trying to make sure that we're focused on the day that we have. That's really what we're trying to do.
It's a great philosophy, Coach, kind of win the day mentality. And like you mentioned, no conference tournament, got to win it outright. And do you expect any problems, with kind of like, you said you have some of those young players stepping into big roles, and, they might have a tendency to kind of overlook that? Or do you think that, the freshmen have really kind of come in and matured in the fall and going into the season?
Well, I think they've just followed the lead of our upperclassmen, and I think all of our upperclassmen are pretty well aware that we played bad last year on 2 days. It cost us 4 losses, which ultimately were the deciding factor in us being the regular season champion. And I think that's why the focus has been to seize the day. So I think all the young guys are doing are following the lead of our upperclassmen, and I think if our upperclassmen will continue to set the right example, there won't be anything for those young guys to do but just follow that lead.
I completely agree. So, if you had to kind of point at kind of like a center stone for the offense and the defense, who's kind of emerged as, so far they look like they're going to lead the offense and on the defensive side?
I think the good thing is I don't think we necessarily have to have a cornerstone. I feel so good about the depth of this team. This is probably the deepest team we've ever had, offensively, defensively, and with our pitching. And I think you're going to see throughout the course of the year, a different guy is going to step up every day and have a big day, whether it be on the mound, whether it be offensively. And I think our kids know they don't have to depend on one guy to lead us. Everybody is capable of making big contributions, and that's probably why I'm as excited as I am about this. Is I don't worry about if one guy, goes through a rough patch. That's baseball. We've got enough good players around that nobody's going to have to do something extraordinary this year for us to have a good year.
That's good, Coach. So last question here, kind of wrapping things up. Is there any kind of central, you said seize the day earlier. Has that kind of become you guys' motivation, the kind of catchphrase kind of thing for this year?
I don't know if it's really a catchphrase. I think when we finished the year last year and kind of looked at maybe what cost us an opportunity to play in the postseason, that's what this group wants to do. Finding out that we're going to host the South Region. A lot of those guys helped a year ago for us to pull off the South Regional and watch teams that we had beaten playing in the South Regional. And I think that in and of itself, that week of watching other teams playing on our field and realizing how close we were to being a part of that and realizing we were good enough and talented enough to be part of that. But it's really about learning how to put our best effort on the field every day. That's really what we're trying to focus on, is how we can consistently put what is our best baseball on the field. And that's all we're really trying to do. I'm not trying to do it with any kind of catchphrases or anything like that. It's just about trying to bring consistency every day. And this is a veteran group, and because of experience, I think they're learning how to do that. That's tough to do when you're a freshman and you're trying to figure out college baseball, or you're a sophomore and it's your first time in the lineup every day. You said it, we've got 8 guys that are returning that were in the lineup pretty much every day. We've got a lot of veterans on the mound. These guys have been in big ball games. They've been in big situations. They know what we need to accomplish. So that's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to be consistent.
Well, Coach, thanks for sitting down with us, and best of luck this year in the 2015 season.
Billy.
Thank you for joining us today as we sat down with Coach Jim Peeples to look at the 2015 baseball season. I'm Billy Mangum, the Athletic Communications Student Intern. This has been a Main Event Broadcasting Network special. Thank you for joining us.